Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the live stream on a Sunday afternoon. It is currently 11:30 in the West Coast Pacific Daylight Time, and in today's live stream, I wanted to do a quick survey on how much people actually like to program. So I wanted to make today's live stream a little bit more interactive and get some nice comments that I can read from you guys and kind of share my thoughts on my process of getting into programming as well. So as you guys all pretty much know, I'm pretty avid in terms of a kind of a programming person. I like to dabble in many different technologies as well. And I would also like to know what kind of things you guys like to do when it comes to, writing out code every day. So today's main topic for discussion is how much do you actually like to program? And I have a couple of kind of questions on the screen here that I want to ask you guys and try to get some good answers in the live chat. And I'll respond to the live chat as much as I can today, which is always difficult because the chat goes so fast, so many people commenting. And I would kind of like to first start off with today's sponsor of the live stream, which is myself. I don't really do sponsors for companies and things like that. And I like to keep the channel as much kind of concentrated and focused on programming as possible. So today we are sponsored by the Instagram course, which if you want to learn more about Swift coding, go ahead and check it out at letsbuildthatapp.com/course/Instagram Firebase. You can also find the link down in the description below. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Obviously, I updated the source code to match Swift 4 and Xcode 9, and that should help out a lot of you guys on getting your app up and running. A lot of good students enrolling in that course already, and a lot of good reviews as well. So that's kind of what I wanted to start off with today. And so the first topic on the agenda is how many hours do you actually spend kind of coding on average per day? And so my kind of a personal opinion on this is, at the very minimum, you should be looking to get coding and sit down and focused on programming for at least 2 hours a day. If you're doing less than that, I would highly encourage you to find just a little bit more time to dedicate to this discipline and this sort of lifestyle. And once you kind of hit that 2 hour mark, you want to kind of up your game by including algorithms and building a bunch of side projects on your own. So what I consider a side project is something small where you're focused on learning something new, perhaps a framework or a new library of some kind. Usually for iOS, for me, I think learning things like AVKit, AV Player, playing video files, and then playing like sound files is always very interesting, and it's a difficult library to work with, but I like doing difficult things as side projects because it doesn't really matter. You just throw away the code once you're done with it. So I see some folks here are saying that they code between 8 to 12 hours. And so that's really good. I would say that might be a little bit too much if you're starting out. Anything that you do when you're just beginning, you have to kind of do it in moderation. You don't want to burn out too quickly, and I have seen that happen from time to time. Today's also sponsored by Dasani, the water company. No, just kidding. Yeah, so who's here today? We have Dave, we have Kunmi, a lot of new people. Sam, I think I've seen Sam, JP, Daniel, cool. A lot of new faces. Hi Wang, okay. We have Bruce Nell, good to see you again. And yeah, I'll get to the questions in the chat a little bit later, but just want to get some kind of good feedback about how many hours you program per day. So there's a little bit of a lag between the live chat and then the live stream that gets broadcasted. So there's a little bit of a delay. I do apologize for that. We can't really do much in terms of getting that latency down because it is YouTube technology. But we have 2 to 10 hours a day, depending on the day. Yeah. when I was first starting out, that's typically my schedule too, like 2 to 10 hours, and then kind of figuring out how to best optimize my time so that I'm not doing silly things with the computer. That's also a key factor into getting better at programming. Okay, so yeah, we have 8 hours easily. Yeah. I remember when I was first starting out, sometimes I would spend like 14 hours a day just sitting there programming, waking up at 8 a.m., doing programming until lunchtime. This is probably during like my university days. And then after lunch, you would sit down, maybe watch some videos, and then you would start programming again until midnight or pretty much the end of the day. And then in between that time, you would probably have dinner and think about all of the problems that you weren't able to solve. And man, those were back in the university days. Pretty stressful, I would think. And yeah, I have a video coming up about university and majors and what to study for computer science. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that video when it comes out. Not done or haven't started recording it, but kind of in the final stages of scripting out what I want to talk about. Oh, how's everyone doing today? I'm feeling good. Not sick anymore. Well, I'm actually taking better care of myself so that I don't get sick over the weekend. I find myself overworking during the weekdays, and then when Saturday comes around, I am usually under the weather with a sore throat, stuffy nose, and that cycle just kept on continuing on every week. And now I'm watching more carefully what I'm doing during the week and trying to make sure I take care of myself so I don't burn out during the weekends. So yeah, 6 to 7 hours normally when moody goes around 10. How about you? Yeah, I used to do a lot of programming for certain days when I had the time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, anything that includes looking up code, like Googling and testing, that's all part of the programming deal. So we have a question here about the smoke in San Francisco. For anyone that doesn't know, we've been having wildfires in the North Napa area of California, and a lot of that wildfire has led to smoke and bad kind of pollution in the air, and a lot of that smoke has been traveling west southwards into the San Francisco area, and so it's a little bit foggy and overcast, I would say. Some people have described the air to be similar to the Beijing weather or the Beijing pollution air, but that's nothing. There's nothing we can do about that but to just keep trucking on. Okay, let me move on to the next question here by dismissing that. How can I dismiss this and remove? Okay, so here's a more serious question about kind of what real programmers do during a job in the software industry. So can you code for 10 hours a day? Think about that, 10 hours a day, getting to the office at 10 o'clock. Typically software engineers get in a little bit later at 10 a.m. and then you would code for about 2 hours or 3 hours, and then it's like 1 p.m. and then you have a little bit of lunch. You come back at the office at 2, and then you program from 2 to, I would say, roughly 7 or 8 p.m. So most jobs require programmers stay after hours, like in the office after hours, without being paid overtime. And so if you think about it, are you ready and willing to sacrifice a good chunk of your day and a good chunk of your life to just writing out code and also like debugging your own code and other software engineers' code? That's a big part of what I've been doing pretty much the last 10 years. I gotta admit, it's not always the most fun when you are just sitting there coding all day. Sometimes when you're working at a big company, you're working with other departments like the marketing, sales, and the HR departments, where they're actually having a lot of fun, or it seems like they're having a lot of fun, where the programmers are just sitting there behind their computers coding and talking about code and talking about things like efficiency of your code, how to make your microservices work better with other services. Not the most exciting thing. I mean, it is exciting in the technical sense, and solving these challenges are a nice aspect of software engineering and the job itself. But after a while, doing it for like 5 to 10 years, you just kind of grow out of it. And are you ready to commit your entire life to that? If you're kind of committed to this life. So your mic is making your voice a lot deeper. Yeah. When I first saw your video, I thought you had a cold. I'm always actually having a cold, a really stuffy nose. It has to do with allergies a lot. And I never really had allergies until I moved out into the San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. I used to live in Sacramento, about 2 hours away. Never really dealt with allergies, but now I'm constantly getting like stuffy nose, like runny nose, and sneezing a lot. So that's why my voice is always very stuffy. Wish I can do something about that, but maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know. Okay. Okay, so here's another question that I have, which is, what is your favorite programming language? And I personally know about, like, I would say 7 or 8 programming languages, and out of those languages, I know them kind of okay, like I know them pretty well, enough to probably like write out a nice little service that actually does something useful. So something like producing JSON, I can I can probably write it out. Now in the beginning, I think when I was getting out of college, I really enjoyed using Java, which was nice to just program in, the most generic language that you can learn in college. And then later on, I kind of picked up Objective-C, but I didn't really like the language at all. And then Swift came out, and I ended up really liking that language for about a year or two. And after working with Swift 2, 3, and Swift 4, the language has a lot of what I would say is not that it has a lot of flaws, but Xcode itself is really slow. So I find myself not liking Swift because of Xcode. And nowadays I really like JavaScript. So people that are aware of this, my website, which is here, this website is actually built using React.js. So all of these components that allow you to watch the video at the top, the description stuff, these reviews right here, this is all built using React and the Bootstrap libraries. So this makes it very easy to program in components. So for example, this whole entire section right here is just one component that is in my React.js little library. And then all of these right here, they're also separate components. And this view right here is also a separate component. And then it makes my code very easy to maintain. Whenever I need to modify how this section looks like, I just have to go into that little component and modify that bit of code. So it makes my life a lot easier. And for example, this homepage right here, this top carousel thing is also a React.js Bootstrap component. React Bootstrap, I think that's what it's called. And then all these views down here are also separate components. So this is kind of why I like JavaScript. It's very easy to do things, especially on the website. It's really easy to build out your pages. So yeah. Okay. All right. So we have a donation from Jose. Let me try to pronounce this. Jose Angel Salvador Moreno. I think this is pronounced Angel. Jose Angel Salvador Moreno. Yeah. Xcode can suck sometimes. Oh, Xcode, out of all of the editors that I've used, I think Xcode might rank somewhere down in the bottom tier of good IDE editors. That's just my opinion. So let's see, go back to the scene here. Oh man. So let's dismiss this guy. And yeah, thank you, Jose, for the super chat donation. It really helps. I think these are €5. Yeah, so just released my first app. Yeah, a lot of students on the channel and also the website have been telling me how they've put out their very first app onto the App Store with the help of these lessons. And yeah, it's been really awesome getting that kind of feedback. I've been meaning to do a couple of reviews from students, like apps from students. Just really haven't gotten the time to do it. So I gotta put that on my to-do list of things to work on. Something else I wanted to mention is that this whole channel, this whole website, this whole thing is just managed by one person, and that's like me. And I'm trying to cater to a lot of things that people want. And what ends up happening is I can't really do everything at once. And then most of the time I just end up doing nothing. So yeah, I'm not the best at allocating my time from time to time, which is bad. Project management. Yeah, I gotta get better at that. Current favorite is Swift. Yeah, don't know what VHDL is, but yeah. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people like Swift because it's it's what this channel is about. So I love Java. When I saw the first tutorial, I'm learning Spring. Yeah, Java's good. I really like Java. It's easy to pick up. Using Python and C#. Yeah. C# is a really easy to learn language as well. It's very similar to Java. Python itself is supposed to be really easy as well. I'm not a big Python person, unfortunately. Really wish I could learn more Python and spend more time with that. Maybe I'll learn how to do AI and jump into data science one of these days. Guys, Python. Yeah. Hope you do more live. Yeah, sometimes live streams are fun. Not the most, I guess, engaging. Is that the right word? It doesn't get the most views, maybe. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Yeah. Not that the views really count, but sometimes you want to do the best you can by putting out content people want to watch and enjoy and listen to. Yeah. And live streams, they mostly go on for a really long time, and I don't really like that, but whatever. Okay, so Swift made me fall in love again with coding. Yeah, Swift will do that. The best thing about iOS and Swift is that it's so easy to get into, right? You just load up Xcode, you hit the run button, and then the app shows up on your phone. It's pretty amazing. You don't get a lot of program languages, you don't get a lot of editors that allow you to do just that. For example, the Android developer, Android Studio thing, the thing that you write Android programs in, you have to set up you used to have to set up like 10 different things to get your program onto your phone. And then you have to modify your phone's configuration so that you can put it on your phone as well. That was really painful, and like Xcode allows you to get around those really simple things in the beginning, and kind of makes the user experience, especially for beginners that are not used to all of these programming tools, it makes that transition into programming just that much more easier. Okay, so next ticket on the app. What's your first reaction when you hear the words algorithms, right? So let me just read off what I have here. When I first started programming, I loved solving algorithms, but I thought they were challenging, and for the most part, I thought they were quite easy to solve. Might sound a little arrogant, but that's kind of what I thought in the beginning, obviously. And everything that you run into during the beginning stages of your education is always going to be super easy. So now that I've seen my fair share of challenging, really challenging and difficult algorithm questions, I'm no longer super excited about learning algorithms anymore. Yeah, there's been so many times where I've been quizzed and tested on a specific question on how to like sort something, or how to put a thing inside of an array and try to tell me what the time complexity is. Yeah, I no longer like doing algorithms because of that. And yeah, sometimes you get this PTSD moment when you hear someone talk about, oh yeah, I really like how this guy managed to solve this question with like the least amount of code, and the efficiency of it is just something that I never thought of. Not really my thing anymore. But I still like solving practical algorithms that teach people how a language works. That's why I have this whole list of challenging algorithms on this channel. Yeah. So we have Stephen Gao here. What is algorithm? Never go to college for computer science. So algorithms is, how would I describe this? So let's say you are let's say you're going to the grocery store and you're trying to buy like 10 different things. A simple algorithm is, how would you calculate the total cost for all of the different grocery items that you want to purchase at the store? So you have like an apple and you have an orange. How do I know how much all of these things cost? So you would add up all of these things and you would get a total, and that would be it. So something else that's much more difficult is, let's say you have a Google search and you get a million different search results back. How do you make sure that you rank the best thing at the very top that most people want to look at? So that's another more complicated algorithm that makes billions and billions of dollars every month, maybe. Yeah. There was a question about whether or not I was going to get the iPhone X or the iPhone 10. Most likely, seeing that this channel is all about iPhone apps and iOS, I pretty much have to spend my $1,000 on an iPhone 10. I'm just gonna get the base model, which is $999 in the United States. I don't really feel like spending any more money on that. So I lost my iPhone 7 Plus when I was in Shanghai. Just got stolen. And I found that I had the 128 gigabyte version, and my space usage on that phone was generally below like 50 gigabytes. So anything that's 64 gigabytes is just enough for me. I'm hoping that, or I can't remember what the iPhone 10 configuration is that you can purchase. Yeah. So we have this question here. Does using Storyboard take away from programming skills and growth? I would say so. Yeah. So here's the thing about the Storyboard that I dislike the most. So let's say you're trying to put a view onto the screen. You use a Storyboard, you drag the thing on the bottom left, and then you drag it into your view controller panel. So doing all that involves a lot of things that you should probably learn how to code, right? You should set up your view, set up the frame on that view, add it into the view controller's views, subview, and then maybe change the background color of it. So doing that involves 4 to 5 lines of code. And just seeing those 5 lines of code will make you much more comfortable with how Swift, the syntax works. If you never come across that bit of code, you're actually like, you're really handicapping yourself, because that bit of code is really easy to understand, and you should do yourself a favor of actually seeing it so you can see how the code works. You're just really, what's the right way to put this? You're just cheating yourself. Like, that bit of code, you should know how it works. Yeah, I don't really know how to explain that any further without going into a 10-minute lecture. Yeah, so do I think the iPhone 10 is overrated? I think it's expensive. I remember spending about $700 on my iPhone 7 Plus, which at that time I thought it was a lot. And now you have to spend $300 more on the new iPhone. It's hard to gauge how expensive a phone should be nowadays, but think about it, spending $1,000 is a bit much. I would rather spend like $800 if I could, but whatever. Another $200 never really hurt anyone, I guess. Yeah, so I find it's easy to make mistakes using Storyboard, and then sometimes it's hard to find out where's the bug. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, like if you think about it, this whole website that you're using right now, YouTube, none of this stuff is used or built using a visual editor. Like, all of this stuff that you're using right now is written with code. So if you really think that like anything serious is built using like a visual editor, you'll be surprised when you get into the real world and you try to tell people that like everything that we look at 8 hours a day, just lines and lines and lines of code. So yeah, so let's see, dismiss and remove. Last question, are you excited to learn new languages? So this is something that I've been running into from time to time. And so for me, I love reading about latest like new frameworks and languages that come out. When Swift was first being introduced into the iOS ecosystem, like I was reading about it every day, seeing how things improve from Objective-C to Swift, and just reducing the number of lines of code you have to type, the for loop syntax, and how to use arrays, generics, how do you define structs and classes, all this good stuff that Objective-C was really missing. Like, you can find these modern concepts in languages such as Java, but it's missing in Objective-C. So once Swift came out, I was really excited to adopt it and translate all of my old Objective-C code and just get into Swift as fast as possible. And everything worked out pretty nicely. The only problem was Xcode 6 at the time was extremely buggy. Now most of the kinks have been worked out. You don't have to deal with the Xcode crashing as much anymore. Back in the good old days of Swift 1, the Xcode editor would just totally lose the syntax highlighting, the coloring, and also the code completion. So you'd be like working in a regular Notepad text editor thing, which was pretty annoying and frustrating. Yeah. So that's it for the little app thingamabob. Let's get rid of the simulator. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Bop, 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 bop. Yeah. $1,000. Why complain about that when the best MacBook Pro 15-inch Touch Bar costs $3,000? Now that's a ripoff. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's not much you can do about a $3,000 laptop, though. Yeah. If you think about what you're spending your money towards, in terms of dollar and value, you don't get the most out of those laptops. I've been considering building an entire new computer to do video editing with, as well as putting a Hackintosh Mac inside of this new computer. But I just haven't really gotten the time to do it yet. But that would end up costing me about $1,000 for something that's 5 to 10 times faster, better than a MacBook Pro Touch Bar. So I'm considering doing it, but let's see what happens. Do you think the Silicon Valley is dying? Well, you are on YouTube, right? And you're using technology more and more. So it's not that Silicon Valley is dying. It's like other places are becoming tech hotspots as well. So Silicon Valley is becoming less of what it used to be, which is like the tech hub of the entire world. You know, for example, you go to like China, you go to Shenzhen, you go to New York, you go to Seattle, you'll find a lot of good places that have a lot of, like, plenty of startup companies that do tech. Yeah. So what do I have on the TV in the background? It's just Apple TV. Nothing too special about that. Okay, let me see. Oh, we just made it to the half-hour mark. I don't really want to go too far in today's live stream. So Bruce asked, look at the performance on your laptop and see what resources are running high. Will indicate what you possibly need more of. You can never go wrong with adding more RAM into your MacBook or your computer. RAM always helps. The best thing to do is actually make sure you have an SSD hard drive. So not a standard, like, super thick platter disk is what they're called, I believe. Get a small, tiny SSD. It's like 10 times faster than those traditional hard drives. Can you dance or play music? No, don't do any of that. RealmDB as caching layer for network requests. Could be a good idea. Personally, have not used it. What do you think about PhoneGap versus native iOS development? I don't do anything else other than native development, really. Nice shirt, homie. Thanks. You guys want to see the shirt in its full entirety? Here's something that I picked up in China. So wow, I think I'm really going off topic here. Even though there's 104 people watching still, I don't really know what I want to talk about for the rest of today's channel. So I'm gonna read off some questions here that are going to start from the top somewhere. And let's see what we have. So, are you training for algorithms in okay, let me read this again. Is training for algorithms more important nowadays? Algorithms is more important than ever. If you really want to get a job in software, you have to be interviewed for the job, and the guy's going to ask you things like, how do you reverse a linked list? How do you sort this thing using merge sort? What is the time complexity of your algorithm? How can you improve it? You always get asked this for your very first, like, couple of jobs. So if you can't solve those, you've probably failed like half of your interviews, to be honest. Okay. Wow, we got a lot of C# people in C++, C#, Java, Unity, Java. Yep, all really good languages. Love Java, yes. AI, yes. Favorite programming language, Swift 3, yes. Should a programmer train himself for algorithms from time to time because it's so rare at work to write algorithms from scratch? That's not necessarily true. When you're working at a software job, you actually end up using things like tree structures, good usages of arrays, hash maps, dictionaries. For example, let's say you're working at a website that is storing photos on this huge server like Flickr or Google Photos. Like, how do you actually determine where do you store these photos? Do you store them at this server A, server B, or server C? If your users are coming into your application, which server should they hit first to get the photos? Because you can't store all your photos on one server, right? There's just too many photos. So you have to decide based on some kind of round robin algorithm which server you hit. So a lot of fun stuff. Xcode can suck sometimes. That's an understatement. Variables, methods, statements. Same for me. So Bruce says I would have to stick with Python, and Swift is a very nice language. Yeah, tend to agree. Best way to learn code, just gotta jump into it. Android, I use Java, haven't gotten into Kotlin. So I did some tutorials on the Kotlin programming language for Android. I find it to be maybe faster than Java, but having done Java for so long, Java is probably more easy and it comes to me a lot more easily. But if I were to spend like half a year with Kotlin, I would be probably just as proficient in Android development. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, so we have someone that has decided to jump into the world of programming using all code with the Instagram Firebase course. Yeah, we just kind of jumped into Xcode 9 and using Swift 3 and Swift 4. Inside of this course, there's a package in the downloads section that shows all of the new updates with Swift 4 and Firebase 4. So you should be able to follow along 95 or 99% through the videos. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that course. And yeah, just thank you everyone for signing up for that course, and I really hope you're getting the most out of it. I am releasing that new course on core data pretty soon, so make sure to watch out for that. When I think maybe later this week I'll put out a notice, and anyone that's looking to learn more about Swift, programming in general, should really go check out that course. So yeah. So Fola Shaki says, do you go to church? Seriously, try it. I used to go to church. Yeah, I used to go to church in college. I joined this Bible study group. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was something that I never experienced before. The problem is that I never grew up with a religious background, so trying to get into this whole thing about religion wasn't really something I was ready to do at that time. And to be honest, even now I'm not totally into discussing this religious topic. Yeah, that's the most I'm going to say about religion. I don't want to get flagged or anything about this channel being too religious happy. Should I learn React or stick with native? If you're just starting out programming, I would say learn native. Yeah. So again, the website's using React.js. I like it a lot. If you want to get into React Native for mobile, then you probably need a solid foundation for iOS and also Android development. So make sure to get that solid background first. Okay, Xcode 9 working fine for you. It was a very bad experience for me back to Xcode 8.2.1. So Xcode 9 hasn't been that bad. I'm working on Xcode 9.1 beta right now, and that has gotten, that's actually solved a couple of bugs in Xcode 9.0. So I would suggest everyone upgrade to the beta version. How many years have you been professionally coding? When did you become a senior developer? That's a very good question, and I would probably answer that in another video. So let me write this down in my little notepad editor. So a quick answer to this question is probably I've been doing program, I don't know, professionally 8-10 years. When I decided to, or when could I really claim I became a senior developer, was probably 4 or 5 years into my development career. I really felt like I had a good grasp as to how to build out like different technologies and kind of manage people as well. Yeah. What is up? Should a programmer train himself? Yeah, I think I answered that question. Algorithm is super important. Make sure to learn that as much as you can. The kind of the irony of the whole thing is that later on in your career, you don't deal with algorithms as much. It's more of a entry level thing, which isn't to say that it's bad or anything. It's just yeah, when you're a senior architect, you don't really deal with that so much at most companies, but I'm sure at places like Google you still have to deal with it. If I move to San Francisco as a junior developer, do you think I will get a job very quick? That's a very hard question to answer. Depends on your qualifications. Oh my god, JSP and servlet projects. Haven't really heard about those in a good 5 years. Couldn't stomach Objective-C, but love Swift, and your tutorials without storyboard are excellent. Well, thank you very much, James Mitchell. Hope you're still here to hear that. Python machine learning, yep, good stuff. Want to become a software developer? How to start your career? Well, obviously you have to learn software development with programming. Yeah. That's a hard question to answer. Okay. Do you host servers so they run permanently? Yeah, my website over here, this nice little website here, is hosted on a server that's managed by Heroku, which is also then managed by AWS, Amazon Web Services. And yeah, the website is just permanently on the web somewhere. I don't have to deal with like telling the server to, like, the uptime of the server is like 99.9%. And every time I need to update the code on it, I just push the code, server kind of recycles and restarts itself, and then the new code is up and running in probably 30 seconds, I would say. And yeah, it's a good way to make sure all the updates are kind of what's the right word, are kind of processed, and you guys get the new updates whenever they're ready to for consumption, I suppose. Programming already for iPhone 10 a good idea? Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah. Wow. How do you host servers? They run permanently? Well, you can Google it and you'll find plenty of answers. Yeah. Yeah. So the number of people watching, I'm looking at the number right here, and it keeps jumping up and down from 112 to like 88, and there's about 119 people on the live stream right now. Yeah, I remember when I first started doing these live streams, probably got like 50 to 60 people. Now it's 119, 120. I think at the very, very peak, we had 200 people in the live stream. And yeah, I'm happy to help people out. I'm happy to be here for everyone that's willing to listen. Do you have any plans to create a course about Swift programming for beginners? So I do have a course on here that's kind of like for basic training, and you can click on the basic training. And so there are some Swift basics here about how classes work and how you should model things like books. And this is the Kindle basic training course. And you get to build out these apps or these couple of screens, and then you slowly modify it into what the Kindle kind of book page reading app does. And then eventually we style it to become this over here. It's a good way to get into Swift programming. Yeah. So, yeah, it was one of the first courses that I put out on my website, and a lot of people have gotten good things out of it. So hopefully you will too. May the force be with you. How many of you guys have watched the Star Wars movie? I'm not a big Star Wars fan, unfortunately. More of a Star Trek guy. Yeah. Okay. I see a lot of people here are discussing amongst themselves in the chat. I'm wondering whether or not I should start a Slack channel so that everyone can talk to each other, communicate, and perhaps help each other with coding and projects. I would love to do that. Maybe this is why I should hire an intern to help me do things like that. To have apps that I've made on my own. Currently, I think the last app I worked on is called Touch of Modern. You can look that up on the App Store. It's still up. A lot of the code that's written for that application is still my code, even though I've been I've already stepped away from Touch of Modern for 2 years. A lot of the code base still is exactly the way it is when I left it. Slack channel sounds good. Yeah. So we have nice haircut, Brian. Yeah. I've been thinking about leaving bangs. Maybe I'll leave bangs like this. This is how people like to do their hair in like Asia. See how it looks. Yeah, we'll do bangs for the rest of this live stream. Maybe I should start a makeup hair tutorial channel. Wouldn't that be nice? No, much better before. What do I think about React Native? React Native is a very good platform if you want to build towards what is it, iOS and Android. Bangs not look good to you. I think if you guys just get used to me with like bangs, then you'll start to get used to that look. Maybe it's just the wrong angle. What's the fastest way of transferring data from a vector string into a map? Using brackets, cos, YouTube. Yeah, good stuff. Ew. Yeah. Please make a video on memory management in Xcode. Yeah. Wow. Putting your hair down really gets it gets hot. Adam, good to see you. Like the big TV in the background. That is it's a 4K monitor that is hooked up to my Apple TV, and I find myself using that less and less. I have a totally different setup here, which maybe I'll show you guys if I'm really brave. I think I already showed you on that standing desk video. So I do have that standing desk here, and it looks pretty much like how I showed you guys in that video. Yeah, Slack channel would be great. Hire me, I'll nail your interview because of your videos every Friday on algorithms. Maybe. I actually have other harder questions that might be challenging. Yeah. Version controller for mobile development. I really should release a GitHub and a Git tutorial course. Just getting people up to speed on how to use Git on the terminal and what merging does, what commit does, what adding does, what the staging area is, what pushing really means, and what pooling really means, and then how to resolve merge conflicts the easiest way, as well as like feature branches and things like that. Would be nice. Not really sure how much time I have to dedicate to that right now. Yeah. Okay. So I am currently at the 52-minute mark. I am going to bid farewell. How do you say that phrase? Bid adieu? Say my adieu? What's that phrase in French? Anyways, I will have to say goodbye to everyone, and I'll probably do a live stream next Sunday to just let all of you guys know about the new course that I'm going to release, and I'm super excited about it. Haven't really filmed the first couple of lessons yet, but I am excited to teach everyone how core data works, because through learning core data, we're also going to do things like perform CRUD operations, and I'll tell you guys more about CRUD next week. Yeah. So Adam says that the new course, it's going to drop pretty soon, and yeah, I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am looking forward to it in terms of recording and doing all this stuff. Yeah, core data is going to be a lot of fun, I promise. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I'll probably go out and have some lunch, and I will see you next week. Bye bye, everyone.